What have I learned in my first year as an animation student? Hi guys, it's Crow, and for those of you who are new here or don't know, I am a current animation student in art school, going into my junior year of college next semester. You might be asking, why does it say first year if you're talking about your sophomore year? That is because at my school and many other art schools, freshman year you are not allowed to declare a major and have to do a foundational skills semester that include classes such as a 3D class, 2D class, photography and visual theories, art histories, etc., before you're allowed to declare your major. So, that being said, this is my first official year in my major done, and I'd like to recap what the first and second semester of sophomore year was like for me. So, for starters, the studio classes I took in the fall of 2024 was Animation 1, Intro to 2D Digital, and Color for Painting. I'll mainly be covering what I learned in both the Animation 1 and Intro to 2D Digital classes, as that was more of an animation-based class load than my painting class. However, my painting class was a color/media requirement for my major, and one of many options that we were allowed to take as a filler class if you couldn't get into the animation-specific requirement. So with that being said, let's jump into it. Animation was something I had been doing for years, and this was finally my first chance to pursue it. I remember being extremely nervous that I was going to be the absolute worst in my class because I always felt like something was off with my animations. Like I never quite grasped the principles despite watching a plethora of videos on the topic. I was paranoid that everyone would just automatically be better than me, but I neglected the fact that we are all learning how to animate. And I think once I kind of realized that, it did relieve a lot of anxiety going into my first animation class. I remember the first exercise we did was drawing someone frame by frame as they did a spin kick with pegs on paper. All I was thinking was, oh my god, I'm screwed. I've never animated on paper before. I was super accustomed to animating in pose-to-pose animation, which, for those of you who don't know, is a method of animation that involves the action of getting one key frame or a strong pose to another strong pose. So, for example, let's say someone's raising their hand, it would be the bottom of someone raising their hand to the top of when they actually raise their hand. Those would be the two poses. And all of the animation part would be the poses that help you get from the bottom to the top of the pose. At the time, I didn't like nor understand the purpose of this exercise because it was forcing me to animate straight ahead, but upon further reflection, I think this definitely made me get a better sense of timing within my animations without overthinking it too hard, especially because paper feels a lot more permanent than digital. My main takeaways from this class was a basic foundation of animation, and we loosely went over the principles of
squash and stretch,
timing, spacing, and touched a little bit on drag, as well as arcs. Each week we had to get one animation done up until the final, which also helped me be less precious with my animated work. I think this was the best possible way I could have improved my foundational skill at animating at first. Wasn't overthinking anything, just straight up doing it. Some highlights from the class for me was my charcoal animation, which I spent 6 hours underneath the camera, and my feel out action. And then some lowlights from this class for me was my paper puppet and my interactive animation. I just really dropped the ball on this one. I'm pretty sure this was around the time I injured my wrist, and I remember my puppet was so annoying to work with because I kept breathing too heavy underneath the down shooter, and then the pieces would just blow everywhere. My final for this class was an animation using any of the techniques we learned in this class, like interactive animation or pixelation, hand-drawn animation on pegs, Toon Boom Harmony, or under the camera animating. I, of course, chose Toon Boom, which I wish that I did something non-digital, but due to the timing and it being over Thanksgiving break that I had time to work on it, I wanted to be able to use that time to work on my final, which is why I chose Toon Boom. The main lessons I took away from this final is that I needed to work on my timing and spacing instead of animating key to key, and it would have been helpful if I didn't animate to a song. However, I am proud that I pushed myself through it and I had one of the longer finals. Longer doesn't always mean better, but it was a full minute, so I was very proud that I got a minute-long animation done. And I think I'd eventually like to redo the animation when I have the time, but I'm probably gonna wait until I'm out of college. This brings me to my second animation class, Intro to 2D Digital. This was my absolute favorite class because it taught me everything that was missing to boost the visual appeal of my digital animations. The professor also did not cut me any slack when it came to cutting corners in my animations and did draw over / emphasis on arcs and mapping, and it really helped me get a solid understanding of animated physics and timing. Pretty much just kind of polished up all of the skills that I was learning to do in my Annie 1 class and honing in on those skills. We learned how to animate in 3 different programs, being Adobe Animate, Photoshop, and Toon Boom Harmony, as well as how to composite in After Effects and using Toon Boom Harmony's node feature. The most useful takeaways from this class was the making of mouth packs in Adobe Animate and literally just using Toon Boom itself. The professor helped me greatly improve my animations because she encouraged me to actually think, now that I know the basics of just how to do. This was especially prevalent in my lo-fi animation, where I was busy thinking about the overall aesthetics of the animation. I hadn't even plotted out my character's feet in his run cycle. I then had to go back and redo the entire run around the camera because it looked weird, and guess what? It still looks weird, but that just means I'm improving, because now I can look back on this animation and be like, oh, I could have done this better, and this better. My favorite assignment I did in this class was, of course, my lip syncing assignment with the mouth packs in Animate, and I think my least favorite was the composited walk cycle assignment we had to do with After Effects. Funnily enough, both assignments were done in Adobe Animate, and I think that Adobe Animate gets way too much hate because I find it incredibly intuitive. My main issue with the walk cycle assignment was that I didn't consider the planes when I was creating my parallaxing effect in After Effects, and when I was creating the background as well, because I didn't know that that's what we would be doing when I had made it, so it made playing with the camera incredibly awkward. I had to angle it so that certain elements of the foreground didn't get cut off or you didn't see the black of the background. For those of you who don't know what a parallax effect is in animation, it's the illusion of depth in a background that the camera zooms through, created by layers of foreground, middle ground, and background elements. I think the most notable examples can be seen in classic Disney films such as Sleeping Beauty or Snow White, or I'm pretty sure Beauty and the Beast as well. And I'll try and find some pictures of these backgrounds in editing if I can. I will say I did have a lot of fun creating the background, and I'd love to redo or revisit this assignment because I feel like I did not do it enough justice. And I think there's a lot of potential there, and it really helped me realize how much I love making backgrounds and I love making scenes and environments. So that's definitely something that I'm going to try and implement in my future work. Hello, so due to this video taking so much longer to edit than I had thought, I'm going to be breaking this video up between semester 1 and semester 2, so I will be uploading this video, and then however long it takes me to get the semester 2 video out will be uploaded right after, hopefully, fingers crossed. Anyways, I hope you guys liked the video and learned something from this. I'm probably going to end up going over more of the animation principles in my semester 2 video because I felt like I got a better understanding about my semester 2 animation principles than I did my semester 1. So I probably will go into depth either in the next video or in a later video. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you. Bye!